All right, let's hear it. Okay, so last week, just to get you in the mind frame, we said that when it comes to gifts, the best gift you ever got, you probably don't know where it is right now. And we said it was probably something like technology, right? You got your first iPhone, but there have been some other iPhones since then, and you traded in that best gift iPhone for the newest version of the iPhone, so you don't even know where that best gift is. And then we told you that's not even your best gift. The best gift you ever got was Jesus, right? So we said the best gift you ever got is the one you didn't expect and the one you did not ask for, and that's how God sent his son, Jesus, for all of us, and we didn't even ask for him, okay? So that's what we said last week. So we said the best present was Jesus. All right, somebody say present, and Jesus. Cool. All right, so are you ready for today's talk? Yeah. Today's conversation, I'm titling it this right here, The Problem with Christmas. There is a problem with Christmas. And it sounds bad, but before you storm out, I think you're going to agree with me. Let's do a quick little memory lane kind of thing. I think this has happened to you because it's happened to me. The problem with Christmas is the presents. It's the presents. It's the so hear me out. But before you like it, Josh, it's all about the presents. I make the list for the presents. I send the links for the presents. It's all about I brought a present to squad. What do you mean the problem is the present? But hear me out. What tends to happen around Christmas time is we make a list for the presents, and then we get the presents, and we open the presents. Oh, and that one's not going to open. We open the presents. We're like, oh, I got it. And we get it out. We get the present. We open the present. We play with the present. And then we store the present. And we forget about the present, and then we outgrow the present. And now I don't even remember where the present is anymore, right? So that kind of happens. So just if that's ever happened to you, if you've ever forgotten, stopped playing with, or outgrown a present, just kind of nod your head. Yeah, okay, so full participation right there, good stuff. Here's the problem. If last week we said that the best present you ever got was Jesus, and this week we're saying that we tend to forget about and outgrow our presents, then the problem with Christmas is that we tend to treat Jesus the same way as our other presents. We receive him, and we come on Wednesdays to hear about him, and we come on Sundays to talk about him, but Monday through Saturday, outside of Wednesday, we kind of store him, and we forget about him. And then we kind of just outgrow him. And now he's not involved in my daily activities. And I might pray every once in a while. But really it's just to get me out of trouble. That's about it. I'm kind of forgetting about Jesus. And he's like the present and every other present I've ever received. And that's the problem with Christmas. But I think, and if you'll go with me on this field trip, I think that if we go back to the first Christmas, the original, the OG Christmas, if we go back there, I think that we can learn some things that will apply in today's Christmas, to even your Christmas this year in 2021, okay? And even every other Christmas after this Christmas. So you ready for this field trip? Cool. You've already heard some of this story, but I just want to slow down and unpack some of the details, all right? And it mainly involves the wise men. Have you ever heard of these guys, the wise men? Yeah. So the scripture calls them the Magi. They were very smart guys. They were scholars. They did their homework. They turned it in on time. They worked together and did their project. But last week we said there are some myths and some misunderstandings about Christmas, and we had to debunk these so that we could make sure you know this. So first off, we said that the wise men, there weren't just three of them. Likely there was an entourage. It was like Kanye showed up with his squad and they were all hanging out. It wasn't just three dudes. It was likely a large group of people. So we had to misconstrue. We had to make sure you had that right. All right, it just wasn't three people. They brought three gifts, but there was likely more people, maybe like 30, okay? So there's that. We also said that if you check the attendance for Christmas night when Jesus was born, they were not on the roll call. They actually were not there the night that Jesus came out and was going, oh, wow, oh, wow. Like his birthday, they weren't there, okay? They didn't show up until about 2 years later, all right? So now with that frame of mind, let's go on this field trip and learn something from these wise men. If you brought a Bible, you can turn to Matthew chapter 2. That's where we're going to pick right up, but it will be on the screen for you right here. So verse 1 and 2, here's how it begins, and this should be a little review from last week, but don't touch each other. It makes me nervous. But here you go, Matthew chapter 2, 1 through 2. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, during the time of King Herod, somebody say Herod. Now say King. Now say King Herod. All right, here we go. Magi, which is wise men, from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, and here's their question, very important question. They asked this question, where is the one? Somebody say one. Not two, okay? Like in the spirit of LeBron James, not 3, not 4, not 5, just one. Okay, where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star, and this was like back before you could name his star, like, you know, for whoever you're dating or married to, and say, that's our star, honey, I bought it for you. How much did it cost you? $500, and I named that, along with everyone else, and named that star. It's like Bitcoin. You can, whatever you want it to be. I'm just kidding. Moving on. So we saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him. So the wise men got together. They knew their Old Testament. They knew the story of the Messiah, and they knew that he was King of the Jews, and said, we came to not just hang out with him, not see him, not just take a selfie with him, not to make history. We actually came to honor him and worship him. So with that in mind, look what happens next. We're going to skip down a couple verses, but here it is on the screen for you. Then Herod, somebody say King Herod, he called the Magi. He called the wise men in secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. Here's how we know that the 3 wise men, or all the wise men, were not there the night Jesus was born, because he had to say, when was it? You saw the star, but when did it appear? When was that exactly? And King Herod called them in secretly and said, I want you to tell me about this king. Next verse is pretty important to set up our conversation. Check this out. Verse 8. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search carefully. How do I want you to search carefully? Diligently. Look everywhere for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him. And here's what you need to know about King Herod using the word worship. He said worship. He meant murder. He said, I want you to go find the child. Come tell me where the child is so that I can worship him, because I know that's what you're going to do. But my real intention is to kill this child. And you're hearing this, you're like, oh my word, how could you kill a child? How could you do that? That is so wrong. And it very much is. But King Herod knew something that you and I struggle with to this very day. King Herod knew that you cannot have 2 kings. I cannot be a person who serves 2 kings. So if each of these gifts, right, if King Herod is supposed to be like the best gift in that area, and he's supposed to govern over them and lead them and protect them, he'd be like a gift to them. He knew we can't operate with 2 kings because you have to choose. And me and you struggle with this. We do all the time. We struggle with this. We try to say, okay, Jesus is my king, but who I'm dating is also my king, who I want to date. Jesus is my king, but my My Snapchat followers are also my king. I'm trying to do whatever I have to post and say and wear to make sure I get enough followers on Snapchat, enough likes on Instagram. My TikTok has to be popping, like all the things. Like Jesus is my king on Wednesdays, but on Thursday morning, I'm just trying to find out if he likes me or not, Jesus is my king, Josh, but, I'm just trying to see if she's going to date me or not. So I got to do and say what I want to do and say so she'll date me. Jesus is my king, but my GPA is my other king. Jesus is my king, but my athletic career is my king. Jesus is my king, but how I look and my self-image to other people, I care more about what they think of me than what Jesus thinks of me. Now that I think about it, this might be more of my king than anything else. And even King Herod knew we can't have two kings. And the funny thing is, that when they described the king, the Magi said the king of the Jews. This population inside of this city and the surrounding city, the Jews, the Jewish people, he would be the king of the Jews. And when Jesus would go on to be crucified 33 years later, they would nail on his cross, king of the Jews. But again, King Herod knew something we don't really know, that when you have two kings, you have to choose. And that's why King Herod said, hey, tell me where he is so that I can not worship him. I can have him killed. Because I don't want anyone following anyone else other than me. And King Herod was very, very smart. He was very, very cruel. And he did whatever he had to do to make sure that the throne stayed in his family. This was just one of many other acts he would do to make sure he and his bloodline was in charge. So with now that in your mind, let's check out what the wise men did next. It'll be on the screen for you. Chapter 2, verse 9. After they had heard the king, they went on their way. And the star they had seen, when it rose, went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. You know what's amazing about that passage right there? Like, we'll overlook him like, oh, they were following a star. First off, I am not a Boy Scout. Don't give me a compass. Give me Google Maps, okay? Outside of that, and I can't even follow Google Maps right half the time. But they had to look at a star and just randomly follow it. But can you just comprehend with me real quick the odds? Maybe you're not really a person of faith and you're like, I don't know about this whole Jesus thing. I'm just here for the girls. I'm just here for the God. Like, I'm just here to hang out. If that's you, just hang with me real quick, because listen to this. What are the chances that all the details around the birth of Jesus are true unless it all was intended to happen that way? Like, these are random events that can't just happen coincidentally. These had to have been on purpose. So check this out. You've got this group of guys who are smart. They are wise men, okay? Traveling in the wilderness, stop and say, hey, we're in the vicinity, but we think he's around here somewhere, and they don't know. Even the scholars, like, I don't know exactly where he is. They follow a star, and the star leads them to a baby who has to be a boy. So that's 50% chance odds. It could have been a boy or a girl, right? How many houses did they knock on and say, is this the house? Is this the house? Do you have a baby in there? Right? So they found one with a boy who had a mom named Mary, and this child happened to have already been predicted to be the Messiah. So if you're Mary and Joseph is still contemplating, like, did she cheat on me or did she not cheat on me? I'm looking at this baby now, 2 years old. Whose nose is that? Have I seen that nose around the temple before? Right? He's having his doubts about if he was cheated on by his fiance. And at 2 years old, he's wondering, like, is this is this the son of God, or is this someone, or is this Jebediah's son? You know what I mean? So he's contemplating that when there's a knock on the door, and this group of guys are there to say, hey, we're here to worship the King of the Jews. To which point, Mary and everything she's been through, knowing that she wasn't with anyone, this had to be the Son of God, could easily turn and say, he's right there. And Joseph, who was in this house, turns and says, okay, it really is solidified. Like, these aren't just random events taking place. This was predicted, and these guys are now here. So let's look at what happened when the wise men got to the house, which is another sign that this was not the night Jesus was born. But take a look. It'll be on the screen for you. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, their house, say house, not cave like we talked about last week, not where he was born, right? He was born in the cave with all the animals and everything. So this was, now they're at a house. They're back in the vicinity, right? So here we go. They saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. You can leave that up there for a second. They came, they saw Jesus, they acknowledged that they saw Jesus with their posture, and they knelt down and they worshiped him. They said, you are more important than we are. You are the reason we're all here. We honor you. They weren't even Jewish people. They were pagans. They didn't worship or follow God, but they knew enough to know this baby is important. And it showed in how they positioned themselves. And they positioned themselves as though Jesus was a king and that he was their king. I don't see where they took this position when they saw King Herod. I didn't read that part. Now, they came from a different place. Some think Persia. They came from a different kingdom, so maybe they didn't have to. But even still, if I get in front of the president, you best believe, like, I'm going to do something. I'm not going to kneel. I'm like, hey, man, I may not shake it in today's time, fist bump, like a respectful fist bump. Like, you know what I mean? Of course, that could be violent. I don't, you know, his security team, not like that. But I'm going to show some honor. But they didn't do that to King Herod. They got to King Herod and asked him, where's the king of the Jews? Because that's why we came. So let's read a little bit further. Right here, it says, Mary and all that. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts. Yeah, gifts. So baby Jesus got 3 gifts for his birthday. Think back to how many you got for your birthday. Can you say #blessed? Right? Whenever it's my birthday and people start giving me gifts or it's Christmas, I say this. And if Marissa were in the room, she could really say this. I say a movie quote, usually from The Christmas Story. But I also say even baby Jesus only got 3 gifts. But now I'm caught up on the gifts. So they acknowledged Jesus. They brought gifts and presented them to Jesus. But now let's look at the gifts. So they brought something to the King of the Jews. Another message, another time, but quick question for squad. What do you bring to God? What do you bring to Jesus? I give him my attention for about 5 minutes while you're talking, and when the band's singing, I'm like looking, I give him that. Is that enough worthy of a king? Or does it show that you have a different king? Different message, different time, but let's get back to the story, okay? So they brought 3 gifts. These gifts are very important. Check this out. They brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. All right, let's say it all together. Say gold, frankincense, and myrrh. This is not on your Christmas list, except maybe for the gold, okay? 24 karat magic for sure, right? But check this out, because these gifts are important, and we're going to wind this message down. But this got my attention when I heard a pastor talk about these 3 gifts, and he just said what they represent. So these 3 gifts represent 3 different things. Gold represents kingship, authority, power. Frankincense represents deity or worship or divinity, holiness. And myrrh is something you would use during burial preparation, during death. Some speculate that container of myrrh was actually used after Jesus was killed. And they used that on his body. Now, these three gifts, many speculate about what happened to them. We won't get into all of them, but there's one in particular that I found fascinating, and that's the one I want to share with you. But first, I have to give you a quick rundown of what happens next. Wise men leave and go a different way because they find out in a vision from a dream that King Herod wants to kill the baby. So they don't go back the way they came and go back to the king and say, hey, we found him, like the king asked them to do. Because in a dream, they were told by an angel, don't do that. At the same time, Joseph has a dream that you need to run and protect the child because King Herod is going to try to kill the child. So you need to take the child and go. And if for you, you're thinking, Josh, I have dreams all the time, and if I act on half of those things, I would be locked up. I understand that. But here's something you should also know. One of the highest conversion rates to Christianity, do you know where that's coming from? Like right now in 2021, like the recent history in recent years, you know where the most conversions, or not the most, but some of the most conversions to Christianity are coming from? The Middle East. The Middle East, where Islam is the big thing. Back around the area where this story actually took place. Do you know how those conversions are taking place? Through dreams. That people are having dreams over and over again, so vivid that they are trusting Jesus with their lives in the heat of some of the most conflicting areas to be a Christian. So when you read things in the Bible, don't simply think, oh, that doesn't happen. No. It hasn't happened to you, perhaps. But many of what happened in the Bible, or much of what happened in the Bible, was to tell people about eventually what would be in the Bible. But you have the Bible. So that's why some things don't happen to you like about what you read, okay? But that's not our story. Here we go, back to the story. So picture this. If you're a guy, pretend that you're Joseph. If you're a girl, pretend that you're Mary. And Mary, if you would, just kind of hold your arms like this. And then assume that your Joseph gets up in the middle of the night, grabs you by the arm. Don't do it, fellas, don't do it. And says, we have to go. And so they have to then pack up their things, and they leave in the middle of the night when it's dark. And it's already during a time when traveling is dangerous. So they leave in the middle of the night. Now, real quick, pop quiz for you. Can anyone tell me what career Joseph had? What did he do for a living? Yes. He was a carpenter. Absolutely. So just real quick, Joseph's in the room. Now you're a carpenter. Put on the whole mantra of what it means to be a carpenter. Pretend there are splinters in your hands. And tell me now, in the middle of the night, are you thinking to save this child that's not yours, but enough evidence has shown you that this is the child of God, I need to protect him. How are you packing for your occupation? Because this is your family that you have to protect and provide for. Are you getting all the wood chips, like the spare piece of wood, and strapping on the camel and say, all right, we got to go. Mary, you need to walk. It's got to carry my wood. Hey, go get my tool. I got to get my tool belt. I'm going to carry all my saws, my hammers, my nails, like all my stuff, all my equipment. Are you taking that with you to weigh you down for this journey? Oh, by the way, you're going to Egypt, not that close. So is it safe to say that Joseph probably could not take his work materials with him? And he was going to a new land where they didn't know him, where they wouldn't know, oh, Joseph's carpentry. Yeah, give him a call. He does great work. So getting business would be tough to build back up. It would take a while. So just tell me real quick, all the Josephs in the room, are you nervous about your career and how you're going to make money to provide for your children going to this foreign land? But the gifts. That's right, the gifts. We can't just get the present, play with the present, store the present, and forget the present. Those three gifts were estimated to be a value of about $4 million. Merry Christmas. You're getting some frankincense, and you're getting some, right? You know what I'm saying? So one speculated story is that the wise men actually provided three gifts that help finance Mary and Joseph's journey to protect baby Jesus. The God that we love and serve loved you enough to give you the gift of Jesus before you even thought to ask for him. And he knew the importance of Jesus so much that he provided wise men to bring gifts to finance the trip to protect the Savior of the world. So real quick, to close out this message, we have to do one final roll call because we're missing something. That first Christmas. The main point of tonight's message is we do not want you to miss your present. Don't miss your present. And what I mean by that is don't miss the gift that God gave you in Jesus. But I also mean don't miss what's happening right now and every minute of every day by focusing on things you don't have, things you want to complain about, things that didn't go quite your way. Don't miss the present. Don't be behind a screen and miss the moment when people are around you needing help, needing conversation, needing love, but you're captivated because you want to be entertained. Don't miss your present, because that's exactly where Jesus is. He's not just in the past stories that we read about. So real quick, to help it make sense, roll call on the first Christmas. Was Mary there? Yes, she was there. She played a big role. Did she miss Jesus? No, she actually had Jesus, right? If anyone was not to miss Jesus, Mary didn't miss Jesus, okay? Joseph, did Joseph miss seeing Jesus? No, he was there. He had a bunch of questions, but he was there, okay? Some shepherd boys in a field nearby who were like the poorest of the poor. They just happened to be out there. Did they miss Jesus? No. Mary's willingness to serve God allowed her to not miss Jesus. Joseph's willingness to obey God allowed him not to miss Jesus. And catch this. The wise men, 2 years later, they didn't miss Jesus because of their willingness to worship Jesus. But when I'm occupied on what I want in my present moment, I'm likely to miss the things that are right there and evident in front of me. For example, King Herod, he missed Jesus. He didn't see him, and he was born 8 miles away or 5 miles away, somewhere in that range. He was right there, just a quick journey, and he missed Jesus because he put himself first. King Herod was his own king. And he is what he wanted, right? His will. The Pharisees, they missed Jesus because they were just focused on keeping laws, not loving people the way Jesus would love people. Not loving God the way God wanted to be loved. So they missed out on Jesus, and we don't want you to miss Jesus. He's not just at Christmas time. He's in your everyday. Well, I want to see him. Are you sure you haven't seen him today several times? You saw Kendra's story. Jesus was in that. You saw Kendra get baptized right there. Jesus was in that. You're sitting in a room full of sacrifice so that you could hear about Jesus. Jesus was in the building of this room and all those sacrifices. People give to this church every week so you can hear about Jesus. Jesus is in that. You were greeted on the way into this building with someone saying, hey, happy Wednesday. How are you doing? That's love. God is love. Are you sure you haven't seen Jesus today? Or maybe did you miss him because you were just a little preoccupied with some other things? So what if, beginning this Christmas and every day after, you decided, I'm not going to miss Jesus. In fact, I'm going to inspire someone else to see him too. And I'm going to give a hug where I can give a hug. And I'm going to ask, how are you doing, to help someone else out so they can know the love of Jesus. What if no one else ever again had to miss Jesus? And it starts with each of us. So with that, squad, let me pray for us. Hey, thank you so much for watching this message at CrossPointe Church and our youth group. If you want to receive Christ as your personal Savior, we're so excited for you making that decision, but perhaps you want to know more about what that means and, of course, what's next. So please go to the description, check out those links to find out more information, and, of course, reach out and we can schedule your baptism whenever you're ready. But thank you again for watching. Have a great rest of your week, and we love you guys.